All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the August 6th Charlotte County Airport Authority Budget Workshop. Reminder to silence your phone, and those who wish to join, please rise for the invocation. This was actually sent to me by a friend this morning. I thought it applied well. Heavenly Father, we just ask you to guide our airport on our journey as we plan for the future. Grant us the wisdom and decision-making and clarity in times of confusion. May your light shine upon our path, leading us to success and happiness and fulfillment. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time, we'll take roll call, please.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Leskovich,
Present.
Mr. Swellen,
Here.
Mr. Carr,
Present.
Mr. Thornberry,
Here.
Mr. Parrish.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, this time we'll open it up to public comment, citizens input. Anyone who wishes to address the board, please come to the podium. Citizens comment is open at this time. Anybody who wishes to address the board, please come to the podium.
Hello, my name's Joe McCrae. I have a business over here, tenant. I have questions from a person who could not be here. So I'm going to ask, or not ask, but read this what this person wants me to say. It says the current year fiscals as presented in the board package showing a $4.4 million profit for 26 and projected $2.05 million profit for 27. The increase in the rent is 7% budget to budget and only 4.6 and 26 projected and 27 budget. Same thing. Are the rents only going up 4.6%? They did not include the rates in the board's package. It is sort of crazy that the landing fees for Allegiant plus terminal usage fees is only half of what the hangar and the tie-down fees are. So this is what she wanted me to ask you. So I guess there's questions in there that she don't understand, or probably none of it. I don't understand it fully either, but I told her that I would present this. So I did my job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other citizens input? And one. Thank you, sir.
Hello,
Please state your name for the record.
Jim Lyons. Got two hangars on the county side, a box hangar and a T hangar. And I've been talking to Rob Hamnesick about these rent increases. There was talk at the last meeting about maybe only going up the 3.5% or whatever it was. And if that's what it is, I'm okay with it. But to further increase the rents like they're originally paying, I'm opposed to it 100%. So.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment, citizens input? Okay, seeing nobody rise, we'll close public comment and we'll move right into the 26-27 budget presentation.
All right, so the first 3 pages is the budget as we'll advertise it, or as could be modified. I've talked to most of you on it, address some questions. So I'd like to go to the presentation and then we can come back to this if you have any specific questions. So we'll go through fiscal year 26 projections and fiscal year 27 budget, and go through all of our big profit centers. Jet A sales, one of our major profit centers, we are projecting basically flat next year. The cost of Jet A is going up significantly. We're looking at trends right now that could really impact the cost of jet fuel and avgas. And then you can see 26 to 27 avgas. We're projecting a significant increase in the cost, and so we're buffering the net to us down. We're giving some more discounts on the field, and we're trying to make that up with itinerant fees, but I don't think we'll be able to do that. So this is a blended rate of full service and self-service for avgas. Next slide. Airline enplanements, we're looking at a flat year for 27 based on tickets currently on sale. That is not what Allegiant's telling us, but until they're on sale, we can't budget. They're telling us that we'll have a significant increase during the busy season. As you've probably seen in the paper, Allegiant we're going to be their launch city for their new first class airplanes. So we should be getting those early next year, late this year, early next year. Not only is it going to be first class, the planes have more seats than the current planes. So I think we'll see an increase in enplanements next year. I just don't want to budget for it until we actually know it's going to happen. Next slide. So this is just the same thing on a month-to-month graph. You're seeing 2027 being slightly lower in March than the last few years. Again, that's based on current availability of seats on their system, and we'll be modifying that as the year goes by. Next slide. So parking lot revenues directly tied to passenger traffic. With the changes that we're making in the pay system, where we're going from 40 minutes to 20 minutes, if I'm correct, and we're changing the short term to $2. Each increment will be $2 up to $24 a day. So we'll be collecting a little more money earlier. We're trying to do that to keep people in our cell phone lot instead of going into short term. Short term gets overloaded, and hopefully we can keep people from parking there. At $24 a day, it's still a relative bargain, and some people just feel like it's easier to park there. So we do get some cars overnight, even though we discourage it. Long term, we're increasing it, but we're including the taxes, so it's really not a major increase. It's a few cents a day.
And what is that?
What's that rate?
The new rate will be $14 a day, including tax. Right now, it's $12 a day plus tax.
I have all of that in my notes, but it's easier to ask these guys. And Chad is here if you have any questions coming to us. What time is it, Chad?
It is 3:10 or
3:10 in the morning in Hawaii.
Oh,
I don't know how he got approved to go on vacation this week. It won't happen again.
thank my lucky stars.
probably too early for my tie, huh?
Next slide. So car rental concession, again, based on emplanements, so it'll be flat next year. We did sign a new contract with car rental agencies, so it changes some of the way they pay things. Their minimum annual guarantee is significantly higher. We think it'll be just a little over the 8.3 million we'll make this year, about 8.32. Still our largest income source of that. And go back to the next slide, or the previous slide, parking. So you can see 8 million and 6 million is just a significant part of our revenue stream. And that is one of the ways we can keep landing fees low, as we're making this kind of money on parking. And, you know, our fees are low, they're more than they were. And we're using that aggressively to attract another ultra low cost carrier or low cost carrier. And Brian is confident that we will have an announcement soon. So in the near future, I won't say soon. Next slide, please. So this is airline related operating revenues per enplaned passenger by month. The one thing we track, and we track it every month, is our average. We want to keep that around 13's our goal. We've been above 13 almost every month. 15.7 is our average for 2026. That includes the actual revenues from food and beverage, vending, ground transportation, car rentals, and parking. And you can see how that splits out. And you can see how parking and car rentals kind of go back and forth. They used to be a little more obvious. We would, in the summer months, our car rentals would go way down and our parking would go way up. It's pretty balanced now, as I think just traffic is balancing itself out at the airport.
James, so why the big increase in parking in August and September?
Because people are staying here longer in those months. We just see that the trend. I think the cars are here longer. People are going, you know.
And historically, that's the way it's been as well.
Historically, it's been that way. Historically, we haven't seen that much rental car, but that's starting to creep up in those months too.
July was just a record month for us in parking. So
Yeah.
highest revenue ever in
Well, I
parking.
can understand it, summer months and people are still traveling, but I figured school's hitting and people aren't traveling as much, but that's why August, September kind of comes as a surprise to me. Okay.
Now we switched software for parking and software for our budgeting and our accounting. So these numbers are starting to get a little tighter. We're able to look at the data on a daily basis instead of a weekly basis. So sometimes at the end of the month, ends on a Wednesday, the data comes in for the previous. So those will be tightening up, and obviously August and September are projections, so they may not hit those. We will hit the, $15, $16 in employment average.
And James, part of that too is because we have less passengers in those last 2 months, but they're staying in the parking lot, renting cars longer. There's more revenue over smaller amount of people, so that ratio is higher.
Yeah. That is another. So September is our least traveled month. So we have a lot fewer people in the parking lot. So the revenue per passenger increases. All right, next slide. So these are projected rents and landing fees and fuel fees collected from the airlines. Remember, this year we signed our new contracts in January, so this is only 3/4 of the year instead of the full year. Next year will be our first full year. And Allegiant is not going to get the discount because they didn't meet the growth requirements to get the discounts. We're looking at about almost 2.4 million in rents and landing fees and fuel fees. Based, over the 2 million that we got this year. And you can see in the past, we only charged a fueling fee prior to our new contract. So that 1.3 million was just a fuel hookup fee. And in the future, in the rest of this year, 9 months of this year and next year, it's terminal rents, landing fees, and fueling fees.
There was a question in relation to what we're charging commercial use of the runways versus, I believe it was GA.
Well, we don't charge a landing fee for anybody but GA. I think what they were saying is that the total rents is less. We'll look at some
Yeah, I just want to make sure we
pie
touch
charts
on
and we can see that. Next slide. So if you look at our net operating revenues for 2026, airline passenger related revenues is about 70%. And what happened to this line?
Oh, probably because of the,
Sometimes when we go from my office to here, I will go through the colors of the presentation in here.
Because it looks fine online.
We'll be getting a copy of this, correct?
Yeah.
James, you want mine?
I've got it right here. So the orange, it aggravates me when these things don't translate to up here. Jet fuel sales is about 6% of our revenue. Avgas sales is about 3%. Hangar rentals and tie down is 6% of the total. So I guess was the question, why is the airline paying a certain amount and the T hangars paying a certain amount? Well, T hangars and tie downs is 6% of our revenue, where airline related revenues, including Allegiant direct payments and rental cars and parking, come to about 70% of our total revenue. And then industrial and commercial leases is 10%. That's the yellow, and that's one that has been increasing over the last few years. And we hope we're getting a lot of development interest. Right now it's hangar development, but I think that's going to spur some industrial park development. If we were ready, I think we could lease the entire north side. We have 2 more tenants that are interested. We need to get some taxiways constructed, and we're pushing that up in our plans, but a lot of good things are happening up there. So let's go to 27.
So is it safe to assume, like, a basic answer is you're comparing apples to oranges? in
Yeah,
two different business
it's
models in terms of what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So net operating revenues for 27, again, jet fuel is orange, avgas is the blue, and those are going, jet fuel is staying at 6% of the total, avgas is going down to 2% of the total from 3%. Other FBO revenue is 5% still. Hangars and tie downs are staying at 6% of the total, and industrial park is still 10%. And then airline related revenues are going up to 71% of the total. And like I said, that includes auto parking, car rentals, food and beverage, their ground transportation, terminal leases, and then the unleaded fuel sales and fuel sales to the ground handlers. So total revenues, about 25.9 million, almost 26 million. right, and we go to the expense side. Personnel, obviously, for 2026, personnel is our largest expense. We are now at what, about 135?
Yeah. We average right around 130 up to 135 during season, but I'd say that 130 is solid.
Employees, we're still very lean, based on other airports our size, especially since we are an independent special district and we handle all of our accounting in-house, our maintenance in-house. If you look at an airport like Pye, that's a county or a city administered airport, they have a lot of contract services through the city or the county, so you can't really compare employees to them. And then they just get a bill from the county or the city for those services. Ultimately, I think this is the best form of airport management, and I say that because it's the one we have, but I also think it is the most realistic form if you're trying to run a business, because you control all the expenses. Marketing promotional is you'll see that change a little bit from year to year. Legal and professional is about 3%. Supplies, repairs and maintenance, 10%. Insurance, something that 5 years ago was a sliver on the pie that you couldn't even see, is up to 6% of our total expenses. Travel and allowance, our travel and auto allowance is now, it used to say 0, it's less than 1, and we had to change the pie. So if you add everything up, it's probably not going to add to 100, because we didn't want to leave zeros where there really are things. Utilities, 5%, IT is 5%, and then airline related expenses is the green, and that's about 11% of the total. So our total forecasted net expenses, and then this excludes the cost of fuel, just our net is $21 million. Total forecasted expenses about $24.6 million. We'll go to 27, and you'll see look at this graph's perfect on the screen. So we need to start coming in here and rerunning things. You'll see personnel's gone down slightly as a percentage of the pie. The numbers have gone up. But we're not much change. Airline related expenses have dropped to a smaller percentage of the pie. IT is the same, utilities are about the same, insurance is about the same, and repairs and maintenance is about the same. So the pie got bigger, but the percentages stayed almost the same. Next slide, please. So these are our internal reserves that we maintain and we use to do construction, it basically reserve accounts that are inside our total balance that are put aside every year. Air traffic NAPS, we kind of capped that reserve a few years ago. Parking lot, we continue to add to that every year, and that was when we went from I think $9 a day to $11 a day. We put all of that money into reserves to build more parking lots in the future, and you can see that one is approaching $7.5 million. T-hanger reserves, that's gone down because we're using the reserves that we've been setting aside to put the new doors on. That project is we bid it, it's a fixed number, but the complexity of putting those new doors on is challenging. So we're looking at some other alternatives for the remainder, and we'll bring those back to you. The building reserves, you know, that's just money we put aside yearly for building roof replacement, carpet replacement, air conditioners, the insurance escrow fund, and contaminated pollutants reserves. We've stopped adding to that because we have enough, you know, our auditors have said that's enough to cover any disaster that we need to mitigate. Next slide. So this is interest earned on investments. You can see one where we put some money in an investment account. So we've been doing a little better than the bank interest, where I think we're at 3.25% in the bank right now, or 3%. And I think we're about 5 to 6 in our Florida. Is it Florida Trust or Florida?
FL class.
FL class, yeah. But, you know, we're spending a significant amount of money on construction. We're finishing up all of the hurricane construction, and you know, that money gets put back in with our insurance proceeds, but insurance is never covering 100%. So we've been burning a little bit of cash, and that's why our projected interest has gone down from 1.8 this year to 1.1 next year. Obviously, if interest rates go up, we still have a significant amount of money in the bank, and we'll do a little better than that. Next slide. So 2026 projects, this is where we're obviously spending our money. Terminal expansion, 26 million this year estimate. Taxiway A, C, and D, about 15.8 million. Baggage handling system, 3 million. CTC was 2.2 million. The north side infrastructure, that's the apron, the road, the new FBO hangar, then that's all us. That's 2.4 million. The perimeter road, and then the ARF truck. So this year, we'll spend 56.7 million. FAA reimbursements were about 35.4 million. FDOT is about 5.2. PFCs were about 8.2 of that, and then TSA was about 1.2. So this is where we spent money out of our cash, 4.8 million, almost $5 million. You know, all of these have to be matched, and so our match comes out of funds we have. The fact that we have money in the bank allows us to participate in a lot of these grants. There are airports that can't, you know, the FAA will give you $5 million, but you have to come up with, you know, 500,000 or $1 million to match it, and they can't do it. So they forgo those, and that's the reason we've been very successful at getting grants, because our projects are ready. We've done the planning, we've done the design, and the FAA is willing to give us money to move those forward.
These outside sources of funding, have they already come in, or are we still waiting on some of it?
Oh, this is money that we will collect. You know, some of it hasn't been collected yet, but these are funds that we've signed grant apps
Okay.
for. It's not.
It's
future money.
guaranteed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's as guaranteed as anything.
Okay.
So,
We've gotten most of it where we put the money out and we allocate it as reimbursable, but we've received most of it.
yeah. So next year, go to the next slide. Considerably less construction. 28 million. I think all of our project team is happy that things are slowing down a little. Terminal expansion will be wrapping up. We'll pay the last 13 million of that. Baggage handling system, that's just the final payments, maybe. Northside Infrastructure, that's the apron, that the board approved us going and ahead and finishing. We did get some encouraging news from the DOT that they're going to try and put a little more money into that project. The fact that we got the Challenger Road funding from another source, not the DOT, has allowed them to move some money around. So hopefully we'll get a little more on that. New FBO hangar will finish up this year. Golf course in Challenger, that's the one I was just saying. We got that money from multiple sources. And then Taxiway Foxtrot and the completion of the Delta bypass is our big project next year. That will be 90% FAA. And then the master plan will also be 90% FAA funding. So you can see the breakdown. The DEO is the Economic Office, Department of Economics, out of Tallahassee. They're funding $4 million on golf course in Challenger Extension. And then PFCs are going to cover most of the remainder of the terminal expansion, then FAA on the master plan and Foxtrot and Delta.
When did that start? Challenger Road?
We're waiting on the final SWIFMA permitting to come in, but my goal is to start that into September.
And then when we open up the new, when are they going to remodel the old building terminal?
Well, they're going to start that here once we switch over to the new terminal in phases. They're going to start renovating the existing coming up here next month. And that's supposed to go throughout next year, early February, March, when we'll redo the checkpoint and do the final move over for that.
That'll be 2027.
Yes, sir. That's why you have to remember our fiscal year is October.
Right.
So a lot of these funds are allocated, are shown in 27 as well. We try to split it as best as we can.
So if you go back to the last slide, the 26 million for the terminal expansion, that's the total? I was gonna say, that's
26.
just for 26.
Yeah.
That's
And
just-
the remaining- okay,
Right.
okay.
These are per fiscal year. So that's the funds that we allocated for 26. So same thing with the baggage. That job is technically done, but we're still showing some funds in 27 because that'll be closed out and final retainage. So it goes, you got to look at it per fiscal year.
Right, okay. 'Cause I had in my, just like 47 million or something is the number
Correct.
that I have.
About 44 million.
44, okay.
But it's the same thing with the master plan as well. The master plan, the total cost was not 1.2 million. The total cost, I think, was around 1.8. But that on 27, that's when we're going to spend that. And then 26 is the rest of it. 28, sorry.
The rest of it. Yeah. We're just kicked that project.
So we try to allocate that per.
There'll be a
fiscal
little
year.
money this year but the majority of the funds will be in 27 and the final in 28. Unfortunately, our master planning guys here take a long time.
We'll try to shrink it as much as possible.
James, why the increase in roughly the $3 million increase in our participation funds compared to 26 when we're receiving less from outside sources?
It's just the projects that we're completing. The FBO hangar is mostly us. The ramp is mostly us. So, just the type of project we're working on.
And we are trying to get an additional grant.
Yeah, and like I said, yeah, some of that will be reimbursed through DOT. It may not come in next year, but we'll be reimbursed for some of it. All right. So revenues versus expenses. As you can see that it gets closer and closer. I think this will be a one-year anomaly, although an anomaly where we're making 5 or 6% is still a good year. But I think we're going to be able to market the terminal a little better next year as it's nearing completion or completed. And that's where Brian thinks we'll be seeing some more interest in additional flying. So that's the end of the presentation. We can go into individual numbers. You guys can ask specific questions. I have my crack staff here that has gone through everything. I know I have a variance sheet that, you know, kind of explains a few of the things. Keep in mind when you're looking at the details, we're switching to new software, so we have the ability to break out numbers. So where we used to have building maintenance, now we have every individual building. We used to have T-hanger maintenance, now we have the T-hanger separated individually. So you may see some huge increases in maintenance, but that's because that building wasn't broken out before. If you look at the totals, they run about the same. So I think the one question that we had was on T-hanger rentals and tie downs. T-hanger rentals and tie downs total about 1.6 million of our total budget, where, you know, industrial park and commercial leases about 2.6. Terminal use fees and landing fees are, you know, I think that was the comparison, is lower. That's not all the airline related revenue. There was also fuel in there. But we have to account for the other revenues that come in with the airline. Like I said, that 71% of our total revenue is directly related to the airline. It's non-airline revenue, I understand that, but if the airline wasn't here, we wouldn't have any cars and we wouldn't have any parking. So the total revenue from the airline is obviously much higher. Almost 18.5 million is related to the airline. That includes food and beverage. We think that's going to go up slightly as the new restaurants come online, maybe not next year, but the following year. And advertising, you know, as we've taken it over and the terminal, we're no longer moving things around. We think that will start to increase closer to $1 million in 28. So there's a lot of additional revenue from the airlines. And, you know, back when we were at GA Airport, the only revenue source we had was fuel and the industrial park and hangars. So it's just a different dynamic. I think what some people fail to see is we kept T-hanger rates really low for a long time. And we are just now starting to, you know, progressively increase them to what is comparable with other airports around us. Page Field just had a huge increase in T-hanger rates. Naples has a huge increase. Venice is the only one that's been considerably cheaper than us is Venice, and they are increasing to more than us in the next fiscal year. I think the $25 increase for the lowest rate, and then I think 3.5% for everybody else, based on, you know, their lease increase, is a reasonable rate. I know the board looked at $100 last year and for this year, and I decided to cut that by 75%. So I understand no one likes a rate increase, but the maintenance on those hangars as they get older is starting to go up significantly, and we're just trying to make sure we can maintain them. 20-year lifespan on a building like that, they are at end of life. So if we want to keep them operational, we need to have the funding to do that.
But the hangars are still operating at a deficit though, aren't they?
Yes,
Technically.
technically they operate at the deficit.
And that was my road earlier when we made that
When we-
decision was,
yeah.
you know, at the very least, you know,
Get close to
even
breaking.
breaking even is in my vocabulary, but we were, and technically still not above water. And that's where, at the time when we made that decision, I still stand behind it. I think that we're moving in the direction that we need to from a fiscal responsibility standpoint, but also being as fair as we can be to, our longtime tenants. And I wish there was some other system what we can set up from an incentive standpoint. We talked about fuel. If you buy a certain amount of fuel, you get some kind of
So
rebate, but it's
all of the
I don't know if that's
increases,
feasible.
all of the increases in fuel costs have been for itinerants. That we've kept the self-serve really low and we give discounts to based aircraft, so.
And we're not solely comparing ourselves to other airports. Naturally, we need to do that to see where we stand in comparison. But, when it really comes down to the balance sheet, that's my issue. And it's, we're not taxpayer funded and enterprise zone, and we need to be responsible in how we're charging. And I think we've done, and staff has done an incredible job at taking a deep dive. And but I'm with you. No one likes an increase. But I think that when what has happened in the past, which past boards have done an incredible job, don't get me wrong, but we need to be constantly taking a look at things and making corrections where needed.
So, this is a workshop. There's no voting, no. If anyone has any specific items they want to look at, we can do it now. We can do it later in my office if you want to deep dive into any specific line item. Obviously, we break it out in the details that are following your packet. These are just rolled up.
Can you take a little bit, a deep dive, so to speak, on the issue that we talked about in terms of how rent is allocated on the balance sheet?
Okay, so that is, I'm going to have you explain this, Miss, because I disagree with it. So you will notice, I disagree with it, but it's a government accounting, The Great Gatsby.
I mean, I can, or I can defer to Chad
So
if he's still on.
if you'll notice this year, if you look at our gross, our revenue versus our expenses, the percentage has gone down. Unfortunately, that's not truly the case. The way they make us book rent revenue has changed, and now a significant proportion of that rent revenue goes below the operating budget line.
They being
The Great Gatsby.
Gatsby, so
The government accounting
yeah.
standards people.
not necessarily
Board, the
FAA.
Government Accounting Standards Board? Yes, the Great Gatsby.
Yeah, so it's how we have to recognize. Oh, I thought that was
That's not
feedback.
us.
That was a vehicle. It's how we have to recognize the interest that we collect, while we may not designate it as interest necessarily on the invoices. It's now a requirement that we can't just put it straight into revenue on what we collect, that there's guidelines that we have to show it essentially as if it's interest. It's not the best explanation, but the banker in me thinks about it as like a vehicle lease where you have the amortization schedule of your interest that you're paying versus the principal. It's not quite the same, but that seems to be a better like layman term to try to understand what they decided was the best way for us to do our reporting.
So the money's still there. If
Mhm.
we make $2 million on lease revenue, there's still $2 million in the budget. It's just now half of that, or a percentage of that, is non-operating revenue, where before it was all operating revenue. So our operating percentage, of revenue versus expenses changed, but the total revenue did not change.
Yeah.
That's about the best I can
Yes.
do. You guys hired an engineer
Clear as mud.
to be a director. Me and accountants often disagree. Money's money. But
So if we had a lease that was $5,000 a month for 60 months, we have to look at that over the full 60 months. So it'd be $300,000 for 5 years. And what Gatsby said, you got to take that and amortize it, basically a flat line amortization over the 60 months. Part of it goes to revenue, and then part of it they classify as interest payment as well. So that's the difference you're seeing is how it's being budgeted now, whereas previously it was all budgeted as we're all just a revenue account. Now we're breaking it out. So at the end of the year, it's just a lot easier for us to reconcile the revenues versus the interest that Gatsby requires us to have or break out.
Even Chad can't explain it. So.
From $4,000.
Thinking about today.
The thing I wanted to explain was, at the end of the day, it's the same amount of money. It's just what line it's on. So.
Any other questions, comments?
No, sir.
So for clarification, we will discuss this again in 2 weeks at our regular meeting. That'll be the last time we can make modifications to it. So staff is still crunching numbers daily, so these numbers may change a little, not much. But if you guys see anything that you want to modify, we can do that one more time. We can do it obviously up until that meeting, but that meeting will be the last time we can make changes to this. And then at the September meeting, we will approve this budget.
All right. There's no other business. We'll adjourn.
Thank you. And I'm available if anyone wants to get into any line item, discuss it. Beth, Chad will be back on Monday. Yes. Chad will be here next year.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So